I just want you all to know it is actually the 1st of March when I'm filming this, not the middle of the month, and I'm actually doing my wrap up. I mean, like, for anyone else that is like no achievement, but for me, that's like, that's a lot. That's a lot, okay? The year is off to a good start. So in the month of February, I ended up reading 6 books, and it was a mixed bag. So I said this before and I'll say it again, a lot of the times my reading in a month consists of university reading and maybe a couple of things that I actually read because I wanted to. And this month was no different. I think it was a pretty even split. Half of the books I read were for university, whereas the other half were just books I kind of read for enjoyment and for other such reasons. I'm not gonna lie, I'm actually really behind on my university reading right now, which we're just not going to talk about. When I'm filming this, it's actually my reading week, and I have 5 books to read this week. I want to die. I'm just going to go through these books in like chronological order from the one I read at the start of the month to the ones I most recently read. The first book I read this month was a book for university, and it was A Lost Lady by Willa Cather. There's not really much I can say about it, I'm not gonna lie. It's only about 100 and something pages, and it was kind of dull. Not a lot really happened in it. It was just about this kid called Neil who's like obsessed with his neighbour Mrs. Forrester and kind of in love with her ever since he was a child, and just his life growing up. Except we don't really hear anything about his life, and all that we ever hear about is Mrs. Forrester. The book is all about like the old ways of life transitioning into the new. It's a whole thing. It's about the death of the pioneer era, to be honest, and I don't know. There's nothing inherently bad about this book, but it's not something I would have ever read for the joy of reading it. It's very much something you read because you're going to study it and analyse it. My neighbours are yelling. I swear to god, my neighbour's kid is just going to become like a part of all of my videos from now on because he's always yelling in the background of them. But yeah, Lost Lady, Willa Cather. I think I give it 3 stars because there's nothing bad about this book. At points I kind of enjoyed it and I liked the narrative. I enjoyed the way it was written. The content was just kind of bleh. There's a thing that you'll find with old American fiction writers, specifically modern American fiction, not postmodern, which is now, but modern as in like the early 20th century. There's a thing that you'll find with them, which is a really weird relationship that they all have with women. Like, really weird. I don't know what it is, but American writers of the time seem to just think that women are like ethereal beings. I I don't get it. They don't have any personality. They just kind of exist for the plot and for nothing else. Unless it's for a main character to be in love with them, but normally that is the plot. The next book that I read in February was I Hear a Sunspot by Yuki Famino? I'm not really sure how to pronounce it. Very dyslexic sometimes, but we'll ignore that. Basically, the whole premise of this book is there is a student called Kohi who is hearing impaired. He's in university and he's trying to be independent, really, just trying to live his life. And it kind of talks about his struggle to fit in with everyday university life because he struggles with communication with other people because they aren't really understanding about his impairment, and he's kind of struggling with it himself. And then he meets a boy called Tachi who's adorable. He's kind of a mess of a human being, but he means well, so we love that. I believe I also gave this book 3 stars. This was the book chosen for the Queer Picture Book Club's February choice? Yes, it was the February choice. I actually read it on time. Go me. There were some things I was kind of meh about within this manga. I have a weird relationship with manga. I really love it, but at the same time, there's always things that annoy me. I don't know, maybe that's just more of a me thing. But the relationship between Kohi and Tachi was so cute. They were adorable. I don't know, I might pick up the rest of the series just to kind of see how it goes. I'm interested in Kohi and his hearing impairment, and I kind of want to see how his life continues on, if he begins to accept himself more, become more outspoken, and yeah, it was a nice read. It was quite refreshing. I really like to read about characters with disabilities and impairments as I relate to them very strongly due to the fact that I have a disability. But that's a whole nother story and we ain't gonna talk about that. The next book that I read in the month of February, take a shot every time I say the month of February, was The Time Machine by H.G. Wells. I want to throw it out the window. Genuinely. This book also feeds into that weird, what is it with fiction and their really strange relationship with women? Seriously, what is it? So I had to read this for uni. Unlike A Lost Lady, which I had to read for my Modern American Fiction module, this one I had to read for my Dystopia Utopia module. No, I don't know what it is, but I'm finding a common theme, which is whenever I read novels in uni that are written by men more than 150 years ago, we don't get along. We don't get along. We really don't. I think the only exception to that, actually no, I was going to say the only exception to that was Dr. Faustus. That was a play. Big difference. So if you don't know about The Time Machine by H.G. Wells, it's basically about this man who makes a time machine and he goes into the future. Woo. I'm not going to say anymore because spoilers. All I'm going to say is, why is everyone always white? And before you're like, I mean, it was written in England and about like, I don't know what year. I don't care, it was written in England in the 19th century. No, there was a population of black people there. There was. I talked about this in an essay, I'm not going to go into it. But everyone's white. In the future. Everyone's white. Also, they're all physically healthy. I don't know, doing Utopia Dystopia has just ignited that rage within me that I get towards ableism. The narrative that disabilities don't exist in a perfect world. Fuck off. Next book. On to something absolutely wonderful. In the month of February, I had the pleasure of reading Battle Royale. Oh my god. If you follow me on Instagram, you have heard me talk about this endlessly. I have either just put up my Battle Royale reading vlog or I'm just about to put it up. I'm obsessed with this book. Battle Royale is by Kushin Talamaki and it is kind of literally what you would imagine from the title. It's a battle royale. This novel is about 42 students who have to slaughter each other. As in literally. It's a fight to the death. I loved it. I read this book for Spoopy Hall and book browsing blogs, Holly and Maddie's book club, which is the Burnt Books Club, which is about dystopian fiction. And I loved it. I gave it 5 stars. This was by far the best read of my month. Like, by far. I love this book so much. And I'm not going to go into it because anyone who knows me is 100% annoyed with me talking about it by now because I won't shut up about it. But yes, amazing book. Phenomenal. Do indeed recommend if you like The Hunger Games because this is what inspired The Hunger Games and it is so much better. They're completely different, but it's so good. So good. I actually ended up watching the film literally the day after I finished the book. Also like the film. Really good film. Apparently it's one of Quentin Tarantino's favourite films. And you know what? I see why. It was made in the year 2000. Feels really 80s. Don't know how to explain that other than you need to watch it to understand. But yeah, I adored this book. Please someone talk to me about it. I have so many thoughts. It was so good. Also, it's a monster. Do you see how big this is? It's like 700 pages or something. Well, it's like 600 and something, but still. It's a fat boy. Do you hear that? Fat. Now we are getting into the final 2 books that I read in February, which, fun fact, I finished them yesterday, I'm pretty sure. I may have finished one on the 27th, but I definitely finished reading one like last night, like the 20th. The first poetry book that I actually read this month, and I think maybe this year, was Spells, 21st Century Occult Poetry. This is a collection, so it was written by a bunch of different poets who all pitched in and put in their own poems. You know what a poetry collection looks like, I don't need to explain it. I have feelings. Not really overly positive ones. This was a real toss-up of a collection for me. Part of me loved it, part of me hated it. A lot. I ended up giving this 3 stars, purely for the fact there were some beautiful poems in it, and the introduction to this novel, stunning. Wait, let me find like the introduction and I will read you the first line and tell me that this does not make you want to read this. Oh my god. The introduction is called The Broken Open. In the beginning was the word. No. This is the moment before the word, when everything inside you is broken open. Words together, multiple and multivalent, coming in a rush, sounding in a chorus, a force like a waterfall, a dam breaking, a difficult birth. Is that not such a stunning introductory paragraph? The introduction is like, I don't know, 10 pages or something. It was so enjoyable to read. The introduction was written by Sue Mayer, or So Mayer. Whoever you are, I love you. The amount of talent just in that introduction. I hate introductions. They really annoy me. I could never be bothered reading them because they're all like spoilery. And they talk about stuff as if you've already read it, even though you haven't read it yet. Really melts me. This one, no. Print it out, stick it on my walls, tattoo it on my forehead. I don't care. I loved it. It was amazing. And then it kind of just went downhill from there. The first few poems were beautiful. So nice. There was one about a banshee. Great. Iconic. But it was whenever I got to like the halfway point that everything just kind of started to drag. For those of you that don't know, my degree is actually English Lit with creative writing. And within my creative writing, I do script writing and poetry. So I like poetry. I read a lot of different kinds of poetry. Please ignore any of the weird sounds you're about to hear. My neighbours are building a hot tub. Yes, I said building. I don't get it either. You do realise all it ever does is in this country is rain, right? Hello? Yes? You do realise that? Yeah? Okay, thank you, just so you know. The thing about this collection is I don't want to kind of judge it unfairly. It's just, it kind of got to the point that it felt like I wasn't smart enough to understand it. Which is a me problem, Like I said, I'm dyslexic, simple things confuse me sometimes. But it kind of felt like some of these poems were complex for the sake of being complex. And that's just something I don't really like in poetry. And it's something that whenever you study poetry, you're shouted at for a lot. So maybe it's because I'm studying poetry that I kind of have a weird feeling towards poetry like this now. But I don't know. Overall, this was, it was a so-so kind of read. I liked parts of it, and the parts that I did like, I loved, and the parts of it I didn't like really kind of hurt my head. And I mean that literally. I was like lying in my bed kind of with a headache when I got to the end of it. But that's just a me thing. I wouldn't deter anyone from getting this collection if they do really like occult poetry and just witchy things in general, because it was very interesting and it was really nice to have such a refreshing look on the world. But overall it was kind of meh for me. Some of these poets I will actually seek out and look for other work from because I really love them. Even though it wasn't the most amazing read for me, I still got a lot of nice things out of it and I'm happy I read it. And we are on to the final book that I read in the month of February. News from Nowhere by William Morris. I hated this. Why am I ending this on such a bad note? Why? So News from Nowhere is a dystopian novel where this guy just wakes up one day and he's like, oh, this is not the London I know, this is 2003. What? This book actually made me want to gouge my eyes out. I gave this 1 star. I never give books 1 star. Books never mortally offend me enough to give them 1 star, except for Film Stars Only Die in Liverpool, as we know. I have feelings towards that book, but we're not talking about that. This book basically consisted of 2 old men talking about communism. That's it. Honestly, I could sit here and like tell you everything that happened in this novel start to finish, but I don't care, and I don't want to force anyone through the pain that I was forced through reading this. See, genuinely, this book, it's like 150 pages. It took me the entire month to read this. I hated every moment of it. It was just, it did the thing as well. It did the thing that I literally have just been talking about, where there's such a weird relationship with women in it. The protagonist, every woman he sees, he's like, isn't she a beauty? I'd shag her. Except he didn't say that, but you know he was thinking it. This book has been in my existence. Would I be able to talk about it for my degree? No. No. Because I can't. I can't even think about it without my head hurting. And without feeling annoyed. Literally half of this novel was 2 men sitting in a room discussing communism. Does that sound interesting to you? You know what? It kind of sounds interesting to me. But was it? No. Not at all. Not at all. I'm putting this book down before I get more annoyed at it. Yes. Okay. Done. Finished. Those are the 6 books that I read in the month of February. Could I have read more? Probably. Did I read more? No, because I was sad. But we're also not going to talk about that. Overall, I would say February reading-wise was like an up and down month for me. As I said, a lot of the books that I read I was kind of neutral towards. A Lost Lady, I See a Sunspot, Spells, and I was gonna say The Time Machine, but no. Okay, those three, I was pretty neutral towards them. Two of these books, The Time Machine and News from Nowhere, I don't have fond feelings towards. But I read Battle Royale, which automatically makes this month so much better reading-wise than it would have been. So those are the 6 books I read, and here is to reading more in March. I better read more. I'm not gonna say I want to read more. I need to read more. Not because I need to fulfill this number of books to read to make me feel valuable as a person. No, simply because I am 5 books behind on my reading list for university and I kind of need to read those in order to write my essays at the end of the semester. So fingers crossed I actually managed to read those this week. Just thinking about it fills me with joy. Can't you tell how excited I am for that? I just want to go to sleep. I don't want to read more. But see if these books that I have to read are anything like this, I'm dropping out. I don't care about my degree anymore. Please don't force me to read about these strange middle-aged white men who are obsessed with women half of their age. I'm going to end this here. I'm going to sit in the corner of my room and cry thinking about all the time I wasted reading that. I don't care if it's a piece of classic literature that furthered the dystopian genre, that changed the world. I hated it. However, with that said, if any of these books that I kind of rated on the lower side are your favourite books, power to you. Power to you. I'm sad that I couldn't love them in the way that I know other people do. So don't take anything that I've said here to heart at all, because they're just my opinions. At the end of the day, just my opinions. Like if you hit Battle Royale, it's your opinion. I loved it. Do I have some problems with it? Yes, but we're not going to talk about that. I'm going to talk about that in a separate video. Anyways, done rambling. That's me finished. Hi, hello, please like this video. Not even going to give you a reason, just please. If you have any thoughts on these books, comment it down below. Talk to me about them. I am more than willing to talk about literally all of these books. Even this. Because I love to hate it. I love to hate it. Anyways, if you want to see more of my videos, please subscribe. That would be very nice. My neighbor is still building this freaking hot tub. We're gonna finish this here because he's getting a wee bit loud. Bye.